Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting episode of This Is Our Life. Our life, not yours. But for $500,000, now even with that, you can't have our life. Anyway, so I just noticed that I have a response from someone who was in the Devereux Foundation when I was. And there were several other responses up there concerning other people who were abused in Devereux. And I'm going to provide you a link to a story about a young lady from Chicago who committed suicide after having been placed in the Devereux facility in Houston, which opened after I was in that hellhole. I was there for about 3 years. 3 years, 6 months, something like that. Andrea Yates was in Devereux. You know Andrea Yates, right? The woman who killed her kids? Her husband was a NASA engineer, I believe. And they discharged her. They freaking discharged her. And she was obviously not right. And they discharged her. That's Devereaux for you. As long as they can make money off you, they'll keep you. But when they can't make money off you, they get rid of you. Now, I'll tell you how I got out. Okay? Well, maybe I should give you some background as to how I got in. I got into some trouble. I mean, I'm not going to deny I got into some trouble. Middle school, high school, even elementary school to some degree. Not quite that much in elementary school, but middle school and high school. I was a fighter. I beat the you know what out of a few people, and a few people beat the you know what out of me. So, um, and one day the police were called. Actually, it was the sheriff's department. The police, we didn't. I lived in the county. We didn't have police out there. We had a sheriff's department, and the guy was actually really cool about everything. At that point in my life, I didn't believe much of anything from anyone, and for good reason. And he said, you know what, I'll take the handcuffs off when I put you in the car. And, I'm thinking the whole time, yeah, what you're going to do, because again, it was the sheriff's department, not the police department, but the Houston Police Department had a really bad reputation back in the 70s. And they murdered people. I'm sure they still, cops are cops, right? And I'm thinking he's going to keep me handcuffed. He's going to beat me to death, or maybe not beat me to death, but he's going to beat me to a bloody pulp anyway. And but he didn't do that. He actually took the handcuffs off. He was a good guy. He was actually a good guy. When we got to Juvie Hall, he got me out of the car, and I walked like way over. I mean, like 3 or 4 yards away from him. And he didn't go grabbing me or anything. He looked, he was looking to make sure I didn't run, but he didn't harm me. And anyway, so I got sent back to that hellhole in Victoria. That facility has changed. They have a different kind. They have a different kind of people there now, from my understanding. But actually, one of the people I knew, one of my friends from there, I'm friends with on Facebook, and my BFF, Wesley, he was there for about a week. He was in Anderson Division. That's the tough side. I didn't mess with the kids from Anderson Division. I'd mess with you if you were in Woodlands Division, and other people in Woodlands Division mess with me too. But if you were in Anderson Division, I probably wasn't going to mess with you. Although one kid I beat the you know what out of once, and he got sent to Anderson Division. But Well, he had the bravado. I mean, I didn't just go up to you and push you and start fighting you. I mean, I had to have a reason. Him, he didn't have to have a reason. He just acted like a you know what. But Wesley was there for about a week, and they kicked him out. That's Wes for you. And a few years later, Wes committed suicide. You were a good guy. I miss you. I'd known Wes for years. I mean, we were friends back home. There were I don't want to say their names. There's Danny M, and Paul B. Um, we knew each other from back home as well. We actually those two and myself went to school together. Um, Elementary school and middle school. I don't know about Paul. We went to elementary school. We weren't in the same class though. I don't know about middle school. Elementary school, middle school, and high school. Danny M and I, we graduated in the same class. But after we left Devereux, we never talked to each other again. You learn things about people, and you're a different person in that kind of setting. I mean, I want to say I have no regrets in my life, but there was a time in my life where it just didn't take much for me to haul off and knock somebody upside the head. And I don't. There's a reason I don't fight anymore. I just don't like some of the things I did to people. I'm glad I figured it out when I was still young. And I hurt some people. I mean, I really hurt some people. I don't just mean physically. I mean emotionally. But anyway, so what kind of people work there? One guy pulled a switchblade on one of the kids. Um, Another guy, he goes off cheating with this married woman. I have no problems giving out the names of the staff. Sam Walker. He he was a staff member. There was this woman that was married that worked in the dorm. He and she kind of and she told her husband, or somehow her husband found out. He walks into the dorm with a gun looking for Sam Walker. I'm standing there. I think I was out in the on the blacktop. And you see him walking in. I don't know if I was in the dorm or if I was outside, but I remember seeing him with a gun. And I carry a gun sometimes, most of the time, but I have a reason for it, and I don't just go out pulling it on people. Kurt, you did that. Actually, we know quite a few of you in Keene that do that and have done that. That we call me paranoid, even though we've seen what you do. Anyway, this isn't about you idiots. Um, so this young lady, she was I think 14 or 16, and she was from Chicago. Let me look, and there's artwork that people have done about their time in there. Um, I'm trying to find her age real fast. I don't see it, but she's a teenager. I mean, I guess the facility in Houston is more akin to what the Victoria facility was when I was there. I don't know. I mean, my friend on Facebook, believe me, he didn't need to be there. That was not the right kind of place for him. Um, just not the right kind of place. He's a good guy. He's not mean. He's not a fighter or anything. And they fed us cat. Yeah, CAT, cat. The behind the mess hall, the dining, the main. When I first went there, we ate in the dorms. Everybody ate in the dorms. There was a kitchen and a dining room in all the dorms. And then eventually, it was cheaper just to have one set of cooks instead of having a set of cooks for every dorm. So we all just ate in the same dorm. You have to line up. Once I had cut my foot, the bottom of my foot, I had like 5 or 6 stitches in it. And Russell Davis's mother made me walk from the dorm to the dining hall with all these stitches in my foot. I'm lucky they didn't. Yeah, hold on, Lucky. Yeah, and I've said this before. I've experienced far more anti-white racism than I've ever seen. Anti-black, anti-Hispanic, anti-Asian, etc. And his mother was one of those big anti-white racists. Um, Russell Davis punched people. Russell Davis, the security, those little windows with the laminated windows with the little metal mesh inside of it. He punched it. He punched it and indented it. I mean, indented it. It went like his fist went into it. And when they had some of the bigwigs from Pennsylvania come down, oh, what happened here? Oh, one of the kids did that. Oh, BS. None of the kids didn't do that. It was Russell Davis. He punched it because he was an idiot and he got mad at people and hit them. And then that day he happened to hit that window. Don't turn off the computer. And sorry, that's our dog. Um, hold on, Lucky. Um, but anyway, the dining hall. There were stray cats that lived out in the woods back there. There was a swampy area back there, and they would come up and you want to say hi to everybody, Lucky? Hey, hi, hi. And they'd come up and eat out of the dumpsters, I guess, and they took shotguns and shot them, and at least most of them, and that was their way of getting rid of the stray cats, and it was their way of feeding us on the cheap. And they fed us this stew, and the meat has shotgun pellets in it, and there ain't nobody gonna be giving a bunch of punk kids their good venison or anything like that. So where it came from.
Unless they don't like deer.
Yeah. So.
Or has got hit by a car.
No. There was a lady that worked in the dorm. I just thought of her the other night. Now I can't remember her name. Mrs. Rubio. And A.J. Stafford, who was the dorm supervisor in Barclay Hall, he said, oh, well, she got killed on her way to work in a car accident. Bull S. She did not. A few years later, I was living up in the hill country, and I was going to pick up some meat at the butcher. And I was talking to the old boy, and he happened to be from Goliad, Texas. And I was talking to him, and I mentioned Mrs. Rubio, and said, she's not dead. Like, she's not? No, she's alive. She's doing just fine. I'm like, uh-huh. And A.J. Stafford was one of those guys that he would pick kids up by their head, actually pick them up off the floor by the side of their head, and bounce them their head against the cinder block wall.
Stupid asshole.
Mm-hmm. And the from time to time, the staff just wouldn't want to do their freaking job.
Lazy.
Yeah. So what they would do is they'd hang out in what they call it a nurse's station, even though there was no nurse there. And we'd be in the dining room, because you'd have roll call and the dining room, and don't turn off the computer. And on those days they didn't want to do anything except just be lazy. They'd come in there and scream and yell at us and cuss at us and threaten us, and we're like, what the blank did we do? Because
got out of bed.
yeah, it's like we just exist. We were warehoused to begin with. I had one teacher that actually taught us anything. I had her for 1 year, and she was a great teacher, Mrs. Rabinowitz, excuse me. And I liked her. She was firm, but
Actually believed in teaching.
yeah, exactly. And the lady that came in as her replacement was a complete idiot. Oh, a hair dryer is a necessity in life. You'll die if you don't have a hair dryer.
Well, who knows?
Food, water, shelter, clothing. But and her hair it looked like a monk's haircut, and her makeup. Oh gosh, I don't even remember what her name was, but
She was a dyke.
may have been. And they had this one lady. They did have this group of lesbians that worked there.
Oh God.
And one of them, she smoked a pipe. And yeah, we were under 18, but they gave us tobacco. But anyway, so they'd come into the dining hall and scream and yell at us, cuss at us, threaten us. Sometimes they'd get one kid say, "Give me 50 push-ups, give me 50 sit-ups, give me 100 jumping jacks." And you do it. I remember once I had exercises for something. Who knows what I did? This palm right here. Because I was doing so many push-ups on a carpeted floor, nothing but a big blister, and I bit it, and there was this big old spot of fluid on the carpet.
Oh.
Yeah, and every day, I think we got out of school at 3 o'clock, if you even want to call it school, and then at 3:30 we had exercises. Exercises went on for like half an hour to an hour. Middle of summer, black top, no shade, Texas heat, and kids would go dry. Their skin would be dry. They weren't sweating anymore. And the staff wouldn't say stop or get in the shade or go get some water because they were idiots. They didn't know. Yeah, they didn't care exactly. I was put on a special diet by my doctor, and they refused to give me that special diet, and they were required to give me that special diet. But anyway, how I got out? Well, you know what? I could have stayed there till I was 21. And at one point, I said I wanted to. I really didn't want to, but I said, yeah, I'll stay till I'm 21. And I was the only kicker in that whole place. I was the only freaking redneck in that place. Anyway, um, so, I turned 18, and about a month later, my dad died. And, there were a lot of issues I already had with that place. Geez, it got to a point where I didn't follow any of the rules. Rules didn't matter to the staff. They broke them all the time. But if we did something, you get hit, you get beat, you get put into isolation, um, who knows what, get put on restriction of some sort. Why, why bother? You know, well, I'm going to bow down to you just so I can, go into town once a week and get a quarter to spend. Get real. Eventually, I just spent my time in the woods. I spent all day there. Sometimes I spent all night there too. A lot safer out there than it was in the freaking dorm. You're not going to get raped out in the woods. Of course, you might wake up with a
There.
yeah, well, yeah, with something out there, trying to, you look good. Excuse me, but I'm not a whatever you are. I'm not a bear or a moose. Well, they don't have those down there, but and we got centipedes and scorpions and plenty of snakes, uh, wild hogs. Well, those things are wild hogs can be mean, but plenty of armadillos, coons, possums, you know, squirrels. But it's not a place. That entire institution, that entire organization, I would stay away from. I would have nothing to do with it. I would expose it for what it is. Um, 3.5 years that I spent there, I learned a lot. Not necessarily practical things, but I mean, I learned how to survive. But then I had been learning to survive in places like that since I was 8 years old. So it's not like it was completely new to me. But it was it was the worst place. It was one of the two worst places. But yeah, I had turned 18, and legally they couldn't keep me anymore. And I just said, you know what? I'm going home. Of course, my mother was a bee and didn't want me, but I called an attorney referral line, and they gave me the name of an attorney. And I called her office, and her secretary said, well, she's not taking any new clients right now because she's running for office. But I'll give her your information. She calls me back. She got me out of there. She convinced my mother to take me back. I didn't get in any trouble after that. But, I was 18. They couldn't hold me. I could have just walked away if I wanted to. But I didn't have any place to go, and frankly, I trusted no one after my experiences at home and my experiences in those various institutions and so forth and so on. Think I was going to trust anybody? So, places like that need to be shut down.